You basically want every public building to be flying the flag because England are in the World Cup and doing very well, and it would be a show of being patriotic.
Yes, and a show of support. We're very proud of what the team's achieved. I think probably it was right to wait and see whether we come out of the group, but we now know that we will be coming out of the group.
First time since 2006.
Exactly.
My issue is that I think that there's a bit of work to be done before we can fly the St George's flag everywhere and expect everyone to feel comfortable, because the reality is actually it's often people of colour who identify as English who are told by others that they're not entitled to Englishness.
If you are a nasty little racist scumbag who thinks that actually it's a symbol of white power, actually you get completely drowned in the mass of this incredibly diverse, multicultural country saying, no, you're not having this flag to abuse. We are taking it back. As Nick says, everywhere. Churches, buildings, police stations.
I think sporting occasions are a really powerful opportunity to do that. Look at the Olympics, the London Olympics, and it was a moment where the Union flag became a much less problematic symbol. I think lots of people
embraced it. But that's exactly the point I wanted to make, that the people would have made, and you're not middle-aged like me and Piers, but
Speak for yourself, Mr. Boles.
We remember when people made exactly the same argument about the Union flag because of the BNP.
Yes.
And we reclaimed it, not least because of the Olympics.
Very
Olympics.
I don't actually necessarily...
So I guess I'm hoping we can do the same again.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think what I'm saying is that we haven't really asked the questions as to how the flag became tainted in the first place. And for me, there is a very recent history of it being co-opted by the far right. And, you know, this goes to actually a more subtle issue about what it means to be English. And there are a lot of people who feel that Britishness is fine, you know, it's a kind of Commonwealth identity, anyone can be British, but Englishness is a kind of
what does it mean to you?
Indigenous identity.
Do you identify as English?
Well, it's interesting because I've never lived anywhere other than England, in Britain, but I always find myself identifying as British. And when I have said I'm
You're English, aren't you?
I've been corrected when I've said I'm English by people who said, no, you're
well, I'm
British.
not correcting you.
Well,
are you English?
That's great.
But are you English?
As a result, I've never self-identified as English.
I think I'm asking you now. What are you?
I'm English. We have suffered under these ideas that Englishness is a white identity. It's been used against us, it's been weaponised, and that's traumatic. And we need to understand why that happened and how we can change it before just flying the flag doesn't solve the problem. It's just papering over
So
the
what
cracks.
would you fly?
So I think the Union Jack is less tainted now, and a lot of people feel comfortable with it. And I think it's a very good question. We are English people.
What's your problem with St.
Why
George?
do we feel so difficult self-identifying?
What's your problem with St. George?
Well, St. George and the English flag, they've all become part of the same ideology.
But go back to St. George. What was your problem with it?
I don't have a problem with St. George. I mean, he was Turkish.
I mean,
He's a great symbol of multiculturalism.
I think he was a Syrian immigrant into Turkey, actually.
Exactly. But that's the point I'm going to make.
But it's interesting how few people know that, isn't it? And that we think of Englishness as this white indigenous identity, and actually it's all part of our history of immigration stretching back thousands of years. So it could be a very powerful symbol about the kind of nation we are, but instead at the moment it's still being used to reinforce ideas that can be
But the way we deal with that is to assert through an event like this, which is quite transparently about modern England, modern English people in all of their diversity, we assert this is England, this is our identity, and we, all of us, can be proud of it.
And I think we can actually
deal with the problem with you.
I kind of agree with that. My problem with what you're suggesting, Nick, is my concern that people who have felt excluded from Englishness now just get told from on top, you have to embrace this, here it is, and that there are still some issues that have made them feel alienated from Englishness that haven't been addressed. So I think it needs to come from the bottom up. I think we need to get Englishness into an inclusive identity.
I want you to get away from feeling so ashamed of everything all the time, Afua. Every time you come on here, you're ashamed of Winston Churchill, you're ashamed of Lord Nelson, you're ashamed of England, you're ashamed of everything.
What
are you proud about in this country?
To communicate her experience.
What are you proud about this country?
Do you know what? It's very sweet of you to be concerned about my kind of psychological...
I'm worried about it.
But I wouldn't be even having these debates if I didn't care about this country.
What are you proud? Let me start with this. Try and be
there's
positive.
loads I'm proud of.
Tell me one thing about England you're proud of.
It's my home. It's where my friends, my family are.
I know that, but what are you proud of?
There are lots of British values that I'm very proud of. And among them I would count... Multiculturalism, intellectual curiosity, an interest in our past, and open-mindedness.
How would you see Englishness becoming an identity that you and others who you feel have perhaps felt excluded from it? What would we need to do other than the things that I'm proposing, which are very basic in a way. But I'm sure there are steps we can take. But I think I mean, I do think there's a serious point here. I think after Brexit, it is really, really important that we find an identity that unifies us. We're so split.
Exactly. Isn't English identity problematic if we, once we come out, we need to be unified with Scotland, Northern Ireland,
No, but we'll
Wales.
have British identity as well.
So to define ourselves
I
as
think
English is actually going to separate us.
No,
from
because
different parts of the
you
UK.
wouldn't say that to Ruth Davidson. You wouldn't say that Ruth Davidson was somehow being separatist by thinking of herself as Scottish as well as British. And we need to be able to be English as well as British.
But if we want to define ourselves as British rather than English, why is that a problem?
Well,
because we're losing Englishness, and that really is resented by a lot of people who feel that we're embarrassed about it.
And also because the other
ashamed
nations
about
in the UK, and I've done some work on this in my book, other nations in the UK find it easier to embrace their national identity. So Scottish and Welsh.
You can't find actually anything tangibly to make you feel proud about your country. There's a problem with you.
No, I do agree
There's
with
a
that.
problem with you.
Yeah.
You've got to occasionally, Afua, burst out of this negativity and say, I am proud
Afua's being
of this
negative.
country.
I think she's being
and
intelligent
beat your
and
chest
nuanced.
and fly your flag and feel good about it. There's nothing wrong with that, Afua. It's actually fine to get in touch with your patriotic, happy, positive side.
Are you proud of the England team?
Yeah, very.
There we go.